The 1980s gave us action cinema at its most raw, explosive, and unapologetic. No CGI, no mercy, just muscle, machine guns, and mayhem, choreographed by directors who understood that practical effects carry weight. These 20 films defined what it meant to be an action hero, and they did it with a ferocity that modern blockbusters still struggle to match. If you grew up in this era, you know the gospel. If you didn't, it's time to catch up and discover why the decade owns action filmmaking. The Terminator, 1984. Arnold Schwarzenegger arrives through time as a killing machine designed to eliminate Sarah Connor before she births the future's resistance leader. James Cameron's feature debut is a masterclass in relentless pursuit. The T-800 is implacable. He doesn't negotiate, reason, or tire. He walks through walls, police stations, and explosions with mechanical precision. Michael Biehn's Kyle Reese grounds the science fiction with genuine desperation. He's a soldier from a losing war who understands his mission is almost certainly doomed. The practical effects hold up because Cameron treats time travel like a heist, logical, cleanly explained, and used as a device rather than an excuse. The police station massacre changed action cinema, a villain capable of executing a dozen cops in seconds. The tech-noir nightclub scene is tense, intimate, and devastating. The final confrontation in an industrial plant, Terminator versus Sarah in hand-to-hand combat, is brutal and earned. Schwarzenegger's monotone line delivery, "I'll be back," becomes iconic precisely because he means it literally. The Terminator is a concept executed to perfection. Does the Terminator hold up better than the bloated sequels that followed, or does T2's spectacle eclipse it? Predator, 1987. Arnold Schwarzenegger leads a commando team into the jungle to rescue hostages. Then something starts hunting them. John McTiernan's direction is surgical. Slow-burn tension that explodes into raw combat. The opening strikes are swift, helicopters, gunfire, precision. But once the team lands, paranoia sets in. They're moving through dense jungle where every rustle could be death. The Predator's thermal vision sequences are disorienting genius. The audience sees what the alien sees. Heat signatures moving against a cold background. The creature's invisibility isn't magic. It's technology we can barely comprehend. When Schwarzenegger realizes the enemy isn't human, the entire film's logic shifts. McTiernan cuts the action into brutal encounters rather than extended sequences. The kills are quick, efficient, and shocking. The creature design is legendary. Mandibles, dreadlocks, advanced weaponry, and a code of honor. The Predator respects its prey. It removes Hawkins' skull as a trophy. It's not mindless, it's a hunter. The final confrontation forces Schwarzenegger to use intelligence, not muscle. He rigs traps, he reasons, he survives through cunning. Predator proved you could marry art house tension with blockbuster action. The film respects both equally. Which is scarier, the unseen threat or the moment you finally see it? The Road Warrior, 1981. Mad Max 2, called The Road Warrior in the States, took the post-apocalyptic action blueprint and refined it into pure adrenaline. George Miller choreographed vehicular combat like a ballet. Gasoline, leather, madness, and minimal dialogue. Just visual storytelling at 90 miles per hour. The practical stunts still look better than most modern CGI. The opening chase establishes Miller's grammar. Wide shots for scale, close-ups for claustrophobia, speed ramping for emphasis. Max is a silent protagonist. Mel Gibson barely speaks. His actions and reactions tell the story. The warring tribes, the oil refinery as castle, the punk aesthetic of post-collapse society. Every frame builds the world without exposition. The gyro captain's aerial shots, the feral kid, the Thunderdome-adjacent stronghold. Miller doesn't waste a frame. The final convoy chase is a 20-minute crescendo of explosions, vehicular gymnastics, and pure kinetic energy. The truck and buggy tango, the flaming tanker barrel rolling, the stunt performers in genuine danger. This is cinema that trusts practical execution. The genius is simplicity. The tribe wants fuel. Max can get it, but he has to drive through hell. That's the entire plot. Everything else is refinement and spectacle. Does The Road Warrior deserve its place above Mad Max, Fury Road, or does the newer film surpass it? RoboCop, 1987. Detroit, 2043. A cop named Alex Murphy is murdered and resurrected as a cyborg law enforcer. Paul Verhoeven disguised social satire as an ultra-violent shoot-'em-up. The moment Murphy's hand cannon fires and criminals eat lead, that's art. The media parodies, "I'd buy that for $1," the corporate villainy, Omnicorp, the Murphy versus RoboCop conflict. Every scene works on two levels. Verhoeven understands that satire requires full commitment. The violence is unapologetic. The skull-crushing, the face-blasting, the window-jumping, this movie doesn't flinch. It's shocking precisely because Verhoeven refuses to wink at the audience. He presents ultra-violence as comedy and tragedy simultaneously. Peter Weller's performance as Murphy/RoboCop is magnificent restraint. The loss of humanity is played not as melodrama but as accumulated small moments. His inability to remember his wife's face, the malfunction of his hand, the conflict between his original morality and his corporate programming. The screenplay by Edward Neumeier is tight and purposeful. The corporate conspiracy, RoboCop is an advertisement, the corrupt cops, the beautiful irony that Murphy's human nature is stronger than Omnicorp's programming. These are sophisticated themes embedded in a visceral action film. That climax on the top floor is catharsis. Does RoboCop hold up as social commentary, or is it purely exploitation? Commando, 1985. John Matrix is a retired commando whose daughter is kidnapped. Arnold takes orders from no one, not even the military. Mark L. Lester's film is pure, unadulterated 80s masculinity, one-liners, impossibly large body counts, and a script that doesn't pretend to be serious. The body armor supply run, a heist montage, the island massacre, 200-plus kills, and the final duel in a beach shack, it's absurd in the best way. Schwarzenegger drops a one-liner after every kill, knock knock, shoots bad guy, you're a funny guy, Sully, I'll be back. Let off some steam, Bennett. The screenplay understands that it's operating in fantasy space. Matrix isn't a soldier, he's a force of nature who happens to be father-motivated. The body count climbs to impossible numbers. The entire island is hostile, and he kills them all. The action is kinetic and colorful. Lester shoots the gunfights cleanly so you always know where Matrix is and what he's doing. The practical explosions, the improvised weapons, the hand-to-hand combat with Bennett, Vernon Wells, a legitimate martial artist, in the climax. It's all executed with commitment. The female lead, Rae Dawn Chong, holds her own. The villain is deliciously evil. The plot, rescue the daughter before the coup, is thin, but that's the point. Schwarzenegger commits fully to the absurdity. Does Commando's self-aware ridiculousness make it better than it has any right to be, or is it just dumb? Lethal Weapon, 1987. Martin Riggs and Roger Murtaugh are mismatched cops hunting a heroin cartel. Richard Donner nailed the formula. Buddy chemistry, explosive action, and genuine heart. Mel Gibson's suicidal cop, he's genuinely trying to achieve death by cop, contrasts perfectly with Danny Glover's world-weary straight man who keeps saying, I'm too old for this shit. The character work is meticulous. Riggs is volatile and unpredictable. He throws himself through windows and fights with abandon because he doesn't care if he lives. Murtaugh is stable and protective. He's the father figure Riggs needs. Their dynamic evolves from antagonism to brotherhood across the film's runtime. By the climax, they trust each other absolutely. The freeway ambush is a multi-vehicle collision that feels genuinely dangerous. The helicopter sequence is expansive and kinetic. The final fight on a clifftop, with both cops battered, bleeding, and running on fumes, is earned emotionally. The villain is threatening without becoming cartoonish. Donner understands pacing. Character moments build tension. Action releases it. A scene of Riggs at his dead wife's grave. He goes to her apartment, sits in the dark, considers suicide, carries the same weight as the gunfights. This film invented the template that every buddy cop action film has imitated since. Which is the better Lethal Weapon film? The first, or Lethal Weapon 2? Platoon, 1986. Oliver Stone's Vietnam film leans hard into combat realism. The firefights are disorienting, chaotic, and terrifying. There's no hero music, no triumphant slow motion. Soldiers die in confusion and agony. The moral ambiguity. Chris Taylor, Charlie Sheen, serving under two sergeant archetypes, one brutal, Tom Berenger's Sergeant Barnes, one humane, Willem Dafoe's Sergeant Elias, forces the viewer to choose sides in real time. Stone shoots combat with documentary-style immediacy. The camera shakes. The sound design overwhelms. Helicopters roar overhead. Explosions are disorienting. The sensory overload mirrors the soldier's experience. This isn't sanitized war. It's mud, blood, confusion, and terror. The moral core. Chris watches Sergeant Barnes execute a village chief and a child. He watches Sergeant Elias move through the jungle with grace and compassion. Both men are soldiers. Both are products of the war. The film forces Chris, and the audience, to reckon with the possibility that Elias might be weak and Barnes might be necessary. In the final ambush, Chris shoots Barnes dead, not in self-defense, but in retribution for Elias's death. Platoon doesn't celebrate heroism. It questions what heroism even means when the enemy is invisible and your own unit might betray you. The film is angry and heartbroken. Do you think Platoon is a better depiction of combat than Apocalypse Now? Rambo, First Blood Part 1, 1985. Rambo is released from prison to rescue American POWs in Vietnam. George P. Cosmatos gives us an unstoppable one-man army fantasy. The body count is in the hundreds. The kills are creative. Explosive arrows, timed grenades, booby traps. Stallone's Rambo is barely human anymore, just muscle and vengeance on two legs. The film doesn't apologize for its fantasy. Rambo goes into the jungle with a knife and emergent technology, explosive arrows. By the film's end, he's destroyed a Soviet military base, multiple patrol boats, and an entire regiment. He does this while wounded, outnumbered, and relying on instinct and survival skills honed in the previous film. Cosmatos frames Rambo as a weapon deployed against an enemy that wronged him. The government sends him in, expecting expendability. Rambo refuses to die. The practical action sequences, jungle ambushes, river crossings, hand-to-hand combat with Soviet commanders, are clearly shot and brutally effective. Stallone sells the damage. Rambo takes a bullet and keeps moving. He's not invincible, he's determined. The film knows its audience wants Rambo to win, and it delivers that satisfaction without sacrificing internal logic. Does Rambo First Blood Part 2 get unfairly maligned for its political incorrectness? Or is it just a solid action fantasy? Aliens, 1986. James Cameron's Aliens is a war film disguised as science fiction. Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, leads a squad of Marines into a hive to rescue colonists. The loading of weapons, the motion tracker beeping, the sudden ambushes, it's Alien as an action film. The power loader fight, Ripley in a mechanical exoskeleton versus the alien queen, is the climax every action film wants. Hudson's "Get away from her, you bitch" became iconic. Cameron understands pacing, exposition, escalation, catastrophe, resolution. The alien queen design is pure nightmare fuel. Ripley goes from survivor to soldier. The film redefined what a sequel could be. The structure is military precision: insertion, reconnaissance, contact, withdrawal, invasion, defense. Each phase escalates. The Marines are trained professionals who are completely outgunned. They lose squad members to invisibility and speed. The aliens hunt them in the darkness. The motion tracker becomes useless when enemies are directly overhead. Ripley's transformation is the emotional core. She goes from traumatized survivor to warrior, willing to sacrifice herself to protect the colonists. The final scene, Ripley, Newt, Jones the cat, and a facehugger in the escape pod, is perfect tension and release. Does Aliens belong in conversations with the original Alien, or is it pure action and less horror? Die Hard, 1988. John McClane is an off-duty cop trapped in a high-rise during a Christmas party hostage situation. John McTiernan directs with escalating intensity. The villain, Alan Rickman's Hans Gruber, is sophisticated and dangerous. The building is a vertical maze. McClane is barefoot, outgunned, and operating on instinct and stubbornness. Bruce Willis gives McClane vulnerability. He's bleeding, exhausted, and making mistakes. He's not an action hero in the traditional sense. He's a cop who happens to be in the building. His knowledge of the building, he's familiar with its layout, is his primary advantage. He uses strategy, not just combat. McTiernan's direction is surgical. The building is a character, claustrophobic in some moments, expansive in others. The camera moves with purpose. The action sequences are clearly shot. You always know where McClane is and what he's doing. The kills are satisfying but costly. Every victory is Pyrrhic. The emotional core is McClane's marriage. He's in the building trying to reconcile with his wife. The action serves the relationship. By the climax, they've fought through the building to find each other. The final confrontation with Gruber happens in a moment of genuine grace and violence. Die Hard redefined the action genre. Is it a thriller with action, or an action film with thriller elements? Does that distinction even matter? The Running Man, 1987. In a dystopian future, an innocent man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is imprisoned and forced onto a televised deathmatch game show where contestants are hunted for sport. Paul Verhoeven leans into satire. The costume design, leather, punk, neon, the set design, gleaming TV studios, deteriorating prisons, and the over-the-top villains. It's Hunger Games meets Judge Dredd. Verhoeven's social commentary bites hard. media manipulation, corporate control, bread and circuses for the masses. The TV host, Richard Dawson, perfectly cast, is charming and evil simultaneously. He genuinely loves the game and doesn't see the humans as anything but entertainment. Ben Richards, Schwarzenegger, is a framed cop imprisoned for a massacre he didn't commit. The game show is his way out: defeat Damon Wayans and other runners to earn freedom. Schwarzenegger carries the film with charm. He's resourceful and quick-witted, not just muscular. The action sequences are kinetic. The Dynamo, a creature wrapped in electrical cables, is visually striking. The games are designed spectacles. The climax reveals that the entire game is fake, a ratings game, not a genuine deathmatch. Richards's response is perfect revenge. Does The Running Man deserve recognition as prescient social commentary, or is it just 80s pulp with contemporary resonance? Red Sonja, 1985. Brigitte Nielsen is a warrior queen seeking revenge for her family's murder. Richard Fleischer's film is sword and sorcery at its most earnest. Nielsen is a force, muscular, skilled, commandingly beautiful. Schwarzenegger appears as a supporting ally, awkwardly. But this is Nielsen's show. The sword fights are practical and satisfying. The villain is deliciously hammy. Nielsen's one-liners are genuinely funny. She's not a love interest, she's the hero. The action is kinetic and dirty. Red Sonja defeats enemies through skill and determination. The film respects its own mythology. The priestess, the magic, the curse that forces Sonja to avenge her family. The sexual politics are interesting for a 1985 film. Sonja famously has a vow that she'll sleep with no man until he defeats her in combat. She's independent, skilled, and in control of her sexuality. The film doesn't punish her for this. The final battle is between her and the villain's queen, not a male hero saving the day. The sword combat is well choreographed. The practical stunts, horseback riding, weapon choreography, armor design, ground the fantasy. Does Red Sonja deserve a reboot with a modern budget, or is its campy charm exactly what makes it work? Missing in Action, 1984. Chuck Norris hunts North Vietnamese soldiers to rescue his son. Joseph Zito keeps the pace relentless. Norris is a machine. Martial arts precision with machine gun efficiency. The film doesn't have a massive budget, but it doesn't need one. The jungle setting, the hand-to-hand combat, the close-quarters firefights, all executed with clarity and purpose. Norris commits fully to the revenge fantasy. He's a one-man army who moves through occupied villages dispensing justice. The film doesn't flinch from the violence. Norris kills efficiently. The martial arts choreography is sharp and brutal, kicks that snap with actual power, not ballet. By modern standards, the film is lean and efficient. No subplot fatigue, no bloat. Just a man with a mission moving toward his objective. The action is functional, not flashy. Norris uses the environment, makeshift weapons, strategic positioning, knowledge of jungle terrain. The final confrontation with the main villain is hand-to-hand combat in close quarters. Norris's kicks, submission holds, and striking technique are on display. The film respects martial arts as a legitimate fighting discipline. How do you rank Chuck Norris among 80s action stars? Top tier or underrated? The Killer, 1989. John Woo's Hong Kong masterpiece. Chow Yun-fat is an assassin ordered to kill a singer he was supposed to protect. Tony Leung is a cop hunting him. The relationship between killer and cop evolves from cat and mouse to mutual respect to brotherhood. Woo invents the modern action aesthetic here. Dual-wielding handguns, slow-motion choreography, and explosive precision. The action sequences are balletic. Bodies move through frames with grace and violence. Bullocks carve through environments. Slow motion emphasizes key moments. A face realizing danger. A hand reaching for a gun. Blood spray in midair. Every frame is composed for maximum impact. The emotional stakes ground the spectacle. The killer is slowly going blind. Every job brings him closer to darkness. The cop is duty-bound but sympathetic. The singer becomes the moral center, innocent, talented, and worth protecting. Woo intercuts action with intimate moments. The killer teaching the cop to appreciate classical music. The cop and killer bonding over shared code and honor. The climactic church shootout is revolutionary. Slow motion, dual handguns, stained glass shattering, violence as prayer. Does The Killer surpass John Wick as the best modern action film, or is that comparison unfair? Conan the Barbarian, 1982. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a sword-wielding warrior seeking revenge against the sorcerer, James Earl Jones, who destroyed his village. John Milius directs with operatic scope. The Hyborian world is painted with dust, blood, and mythic scale. Schwarzenegger carries a genuine sword, not a prop. His physical presence defines the character. Milius's vision is grounded in pulp fantasy. Conan is not a knight or a hero in the classical sense. He's a barbarian, brutal, intelligent, and focused on survival and vengeance. The film takes its mythology seriously. The gods are real, or at least plausible. Magic exists. Civilization is fragile against chaos. The action sequences are hand-to-hand and sword combat. The choreography emphasizes weight and consequence. Swords are heavy weapons. Armor provides protection. Fighting is exhausting. The final battle with Thulsa Doom, James Earl Jones, who steals the film with understated menace, is a clash of philosophies: civilization versus barbarism, order versus chaos. The score by Basil Poledouris is operatic and sweeping. The cinematography frames Conan against deserts, mountains, and temples. The film earns its ambition. Does Conan the Barbarian deserve more appreciation in action film discourse? Or is it overshadowed by its sequels? Escape from New York, 1981. John Carpenter's dystopia. A walled-off Manhattan is a prison. Kurt Russell's eye-patched hero, Snake Plissken, must infiltrate to rescue the president. Carpenter builds dread through minimalist design and synthesizer score. The action is sparse but brutal when it arrives. Russell is cool incarnate: eye patch, leather jacket, gravelly voice, and complete commitment to the character. The film doesn't waste time. It trusts the premise and executes. The ticking clock, Plissken has 24 hours, creates tension. The world building is elegant. New York is a prison because society has collapsed, crime has metastasized, and the government has given up on rehabilitation. Russell moves through the prison island like a ghost. He's capable and resourceful. He negotiates and fights with equal skill. The climax is low-key but satisfying. Plissken betrays his employers and saves the president while preserving New York. It's morally ambiguous and perfectly fitting. Carpenter's direction is economical. The film does more with less. The synth score, by Carpenter himself, creates atmosphere. The practical effects, explosions, vehicle chases, are effective. Does Escape from New York hold up better as a dystopia than modern cyberpunk action films? Tango and Cash, 1989. Stallone and Kurt Russell are rival cops framed by a drug lord. Andrei Konchalovsky directed this with maximum style. The buddy cop chemistry is immediate and genuine. The film opens with a $400 million cocaine bust filmed like a bank heist, each cop trying to out-spectacular the other. Russell and Stallone have genuine chemistry and comic timing. They're not forced partners who grow to respect each other. They're competitive alphas who eventually realize they're better together. The banter is sharp. The one-liners flow naturally. The action is punchy and colorful. The prison break is elaborate and surprising. The final confrontation is appropriately ridiculous. Stallone and Russell together are pure charisma. The film understands that fun matters as much as spectacle. The plot, corrupt cops, drug conspiracy, revenge, is serviceable but secondary to the dynamic between the leads. Konchalovsky brings visual flair to the action sequences. The colors are vibrant. The cinematography is glossy and confident. The practical stunts, car chases, explosions, hand-to-hand combat, are executed with precision. Do you prefer Tango and Cash or Lethal Weapon as the template for 80s buddy cop action? Cobra, 1986. Stallone is a cop nicknamed Cobra for his venomous approach to justice. He hunts a serial killer. George P. Cosmatos delivers lean, mean action. Stallone's character is borderline fascist. He operates outside the law because the law is ineffective. The film doesn't flinch from this moral ambiguity. Cobra's approach is simple: witness elimination. He kills the killer before the legal system can fail. The film presents this as heroic. Stallone's performance is ice-cold. He's not a character with internal conflict. He's a weapon pointed at evil. The dialogue is minimal. The action is explosive. Brigitte Nielsen is both ally and distraction. The stalking sequences are tense and intimate. The action is explosive, but never overlong. Every scene serves the narrative. The final fight is vicious and quick. Stallone's combat is efficient. No wasted movement, just effective violence. The film is violent in a way that respects the danger. The killer is real. The threat is palpable. Does Cobra's vigilante fantasy hold up, or does it feel dated morally? Kickboxer, 1989. Jean-Claude Van Damme is an American kickboxer seeking revenge in Thailand. Marc Desal directed this with surprising craft. Van Damme's performance is earnest and physical. The training montage is genuinely inspiring. He learns Thai culture and fighting philosophy alongside technique. The Thai boxing sequences are beautifully choreographed. Van Damme's kicks are precise and devastating. The film treats kickboxing with respect, not as exotic fighting, but as a legitimate martial art with history and philosophy. The spiritual element, training with a monk, meditation before the final fight, grounds the action. The final bout is earned and satisfying. Van Damme faces the villain, Tong Po, played by a real heavyweight Muay Thai champion, in an actual ring with real stakes. The fight choreography emphasizes technique and damage. Van Damme's determination is palpable. Van Damme's broken English and earnest delivery add charm. The film doesn't mock him or the culture he's learning. Instead, it celebrates his growth as a fighter and person. Does Kickboxer launch Van Damme into legendary status, or is he always secondary to Seagal or Schwarzenegger? Bloodsport, 1988. Van Damme again, this time based on a true story, debatable. He's a soldier named Frank Dolph who enters an underground martial arts tournament in Hong Kong. Newt Arnold directs with urgency. Van Damme's splits and kicks are genuinely impressive. The training montage with the old master is iconic. The tournament fights escalate in intensity. Van Damme moves from victory to victory, each opponent more formidable. The final bout against Bolo Yeung is brutal and personal. Van Damme's emotional arc is surprisingly effective. He's fighting for honor and to prove that Western martial arts can compete with Eastern tradition. The practical choreography is superior to modern CGI-enhanced fights. Every kick connects. Every submission hold is anatomically plausible. The film respects martial arts as a legitimate fighting discipline with technique, training, and honor. Frank's commanding officer, Roy Chiao, serves as moral compass. The tournament organizer, Michel Kissy, is antagonistic and dangerous. The climactic fight is shot with intimacy, close-ups of effort, sweat, determination. Van Damme's performance is earnest and vulnerable. Does Bloodsport hold up as a martial arts film, or does it feel dated by modern standards? Comment your ranking below, and don't hold back. List your top 5. Tell me which entry is overrated. Defend the underdog. The 80s action film wars are eternal. Your take matters. This decade owns action cinema, and these 20 films are proof.